I don't know why you want to argue with me about this, but it says right here, as plain as day, shall not be infringed. How much more clear can I make that? I mean, it says what it says. Look, I just had this feeling that sometime in the future, somebody's going to misinterpret that and they're going to screw the whole thing up. All right, guys, welcome back to Small Caliber Arms Review. Today we're going to be taking a look at a flintlock rifle. This is a Pennsylvania rifle. It's I believe it's a 40 1/4-inch barrel on this thing. It's a monster, 50 caliber. It's the gun that pretty much helped us win the Revolutionary War. What made America America. This was a military grade weapon back in the 1700s, and they're still manufactured today. Most of them are made overseas. There are a few independent manufacturers here in the United States that makes them. But this is a Traditions is the brand, and it is made in, I believe it's made in Spain or Italy, one of the two, I can't remember. But there's a lot of firearms manufacturers over there that do reproductions of American historic rifles. This one is a really well-made one. It's good quality, it looks good, it's got a walnut stock on it. You can find them in maple with the tiger maple. They're beautiful looking rifles, but straight barrel on this one. There's what they call a swamped barrel available too, which kind of tapers in the middle and gets flares out at the end a little bit. But this is an actual rifle. It is not a musket. It does have a twist in the barrel, lands and grooves in there. It's a 1 in 66 twist, which they say is optimized for lead round balls, and that's what we're going to be shooting today. I've got some Hornady black powder round balls here. Now there's a big difference between shooting black powder firearms, especially the flintlocks, as opposed to your traditional modern firearms. You got a lot more stuff you got to get. With a regular rifle, you can go out and get a box of ammo and a rifle, maybe a scope if you want it, and go to town. This, you're going to need powder flask, you're going to need wads, you're going to need a powder measure, you're going to need a little priming tool for your flash pan on the flintlocks anyways. Maybe a ball starter. You will need an accessory kit, all kinds of little goodies in here to keep this rifle in good condition. I'm going to be shooting Pyrodex. You can shoot regular black powder and Pyrodex only in these. These are not made for smokeless powder. The pressures will destroy the gun and possibly destroy you too. You're going to need some kind of cleaner, and you're going to want to keep that with you, because shooting black powder or Pyrodex, either one of them, they're both corrosive. They will both damage a barrel. You just got to get them cleaned up as soon as you're done, and everything will be fine. It's the sulfur, when it burns, it starts eating away at the steel and will destroy a firearm and make it unsafe in just a short period of time. They claim even overnight. So when you're done, you want to keep this thing cleaned up, get all that sulfur neutralized, get it off of there. You're going to need some cleaning patches. You'll probably want to get a range rod. I did not get a range rod. I'm going to use the regular ramrod that came with the rifle. They are made of wood. They're made just like the traditional one, so it's a little flexible. There is a risk of damaging these and breaking them, and you just got to be real careful with it. I mean, this is what they used 243 years ago, and longer than that too. But we're going to get this thing loaded up, and we're going to take a few shots at the target up there, and then I'm probably going to take a shot at my 100-yard target and see how it goes. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the powder measure on here. There's graduations on there. You can pull it back. This is 10, 20, 30, 40, and this goes all the way up to 120 grains. I'm not going to put that much in there. The max for this rifle is 110 according to the manufacturer. Like I said, I'm going to put 60 in there, so I'm going to lock it down there, and just to make sure that this is a 30 grain spout on here, turn it upside down, hit the button a couple times, and that fills the spout up. Let me get it turned all the way over there. Give it a little shake and everything. That fills the spout up. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but I'll go ahead and put it in here. There's one. And there's my second one right there. I'd say that's a little under. It might not quite be 30 grains, but I can go ahead and push this up till the powder's at the top, and we'll see where I'm at there. Go ahead and close that. and it's looking like right at 50 grains, so I guess it's 25 grains of powder. Now my finger may have kept that tube from getting full all the way, but even that's a good one. 50 grains, 45 to 70 is what they recommend for most accuracy. And if you're going to be shooting this gun, you know, over and over again, you don't want to load directly from here anyways. You'll want to load from a little spout like this, that way you don't you know, set off the whole thing. We'll go ahead and put this down in there. All right, we'll take a patch, put it right over the end of the barrel, take the ball, set it right there on the center, push it down in there a little bit, and I do have a ball starter. Now this has got the little end right here, and it's got this piece right here. This will get it started right down in there. Once you've got that in, then you can take the longer end, push it down in, and that goes in pretty easy there. Then you take your rod. It's got two different size ends on it. This one's a little bit bigger. That's probably the one you want to use on the ball. This one's a little bit smaller. When you go to put it in the gun there, you want to put the smaller end in first. Another thing you want to do, if you're going to continue to use the wooden rod on this, don't grab it from the very end and start cramming it down in there. You need to do it in about 6 or 8 inch increments. Push it down, push it down. That way you're not flexing the rod, put a bunch of pressure on it. Now this will be the first time I'm loading this one, so I've got 50 grains of powder in there, and I've got the ball on there and a patch. Now I need to mark this to see exactly where it's at, so that way I know the next time I go to load this, it's kind of an easy indicator. If that goes down farther, I probably didn't put any powder in there. I want to avoid that at all costs. But that's it. You want to make sure it's all the way down in there. You do not want a gap between your powder and your projectile. Black powder, when it goes off, it expands pretty rapidly, and that can make a pipe bomb pretty much if you've got that air gap in there. So you want to make sure it is all the way down in there. Now I've put this rod in here before without anything being in the barrel, and this actually goes down below the end of the rod a little bit, or the end of the barrel a little bit. It's not quite as long as the barrel. When you put some of these attachments on there, it gives you a little extra reach, especially for cleaning and everything. But now that we've got that down in there, we can take the rod and we can put it right back in here. And I have already cleaned this gun up. You've seen that in another part of the video. And now that I've got this here, what I'm going to do is I've got the hammer at half cocked right now, and that's the safety. So what I'm going to do is open up the frizzen, okay? And I'm going to take my charge flask here. Now this is a little bit finer powder in here, and that's to help with ignition on there. And I'm going to push it right down here in the flash pan, and that's going to drop a little bit of powder in there. Do that a couple times. And you don't, there's the flash hole in there, you don't want to cover that hole up because it has to burn through the powder to get a spark in there to ignite it. So we're going to just put enough in there, and then we're going to close the frizzen. Now what that does is that keeps your powder from falling out. If you're moving around, you've got it ready to go. You don't want to, you know, if you're out hunting or fighting a revolution and you need to get this thing charged up, you don't want to say, oh, there's the bad guy or my target, go ahead and prime it up and then do it. You can actually leave it primed, close the frizzen, and that covers up the flash pan. Hopefully keeps any moisture out, and you know, it holds it in there and it's ready to go. Half cocked is safe. I will pull it all the way back when I'm ready to shoot. I've got a target set up there. I'm going to move the camera back and everything, and we'll get a shot at this and see how it does. Okay, here we go. This will be the first time I'm firing any flintlock and the first time I'm firing this rifle. Go ahead and pull it all the way back. Now this one has double triggers on it. Your rear trigger is a set trigger. What that does is makes your front trigger really light. So if you're going for accuracy, a little bit of target shooting, or you're out hunting, that's an excellent way to do it. You can use just the front trigger. We're going to go ahead and do the set trigger and then the other trigger. Now you see that delay in there. That's why they call them flintlocks sometimes, is because it sparked and lit that powder in the flash pan, and then it had to burn and then get to the inside of the chamber and then go. Now there are different powders. You should be putting like a 4F in the flash pan, and I didn't have any, so what I did was take some 3F and grind it up a little bit and put it in there. Kick's not too bad on it. I probably did not stay lined up on my target. I also don't have it sighted in either, so that's my first shot with it. We'll go up there and look at the target and see how that did. Okay, there's my target. You can see I was way off, you know, of course aiming for there and hitting way down there. I mean, not terrible for the first shot. This is pretty much sighting it in. I haven't done any of that yet, so there's my first shot. We'll take another shot, see if I can get a little bit closer, and then we'll take a shot at the 100-yard target. All right, one of the things you want to know about black powder stuff is it is dirty. It gets very dirty very quick. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to go ahead and run a dry patch down through there, and we'll see how that does, how it comes out and everything. I've got a jag on the end of there, my rod. We'll go ahead and push it down in there. Now it's not necessary to clean it after every single shot, but I just want to do this for informational purposes. And you can see there's a lot of dirt on that thing. It's burnt powder residue. It's messy. We'll go ahead and run it through there backwards with the clean side out this time and see if we can get a little bit more out. It's not going to hurt you to do it every time. It's just not necessary for every shot. If you want to maintain accuracy though, it's not a bad idea to do it frequently. All right, that ought to be good for the next round we're going to put in there. Again, we're going to put this in the powder measure. That was 50 grains. So we're going to go ahead and open this back up. There's a lot of accessories you can get for black powder firearms. I mean, there's, you can see my Possibles bag I've got there is a nylon, more modern one. And I just can't continue to do that. I will have to make me a leather one, or canvas that they would have, you know, something traditional that they would have used. All right, there's my 50 grains there. Now, if there's an ember down inside there, I'm not too worried about it lighting off my whole powder flask there. I'm going to get that out of the way though. All right, there's my powder. We'll go ahead and get another one of the patches, and I did put some in the patch box. I want to be careful not to turn it over and dump all my powder out. It's a good idea also to have some place to lean the gun up against. This is a pretty long rifle. You'll want to stabilize it somehow. Again, center the patch up on the end of the barrel there, put the ball in it, push it down with your thumb a little bit. You can take the ball starter if you got one. Get it in there. Push it down. You'll want to feel the resistance on it too. If it starts getting too hard to push down in there, you'll want to get it cleaned out, because that's going to put more pressure inside the cylinder or inside the barrel. Let's go ahead and get it pushed all the way down in there. All right, that one, it probably could use another cleaning. I didn't use any solvent or anything. I just run a dry patch through there. So right now I've got the ball down there. I've got it all the way in. I still left the jag on the end there, so that's why, if you're noticing, there was a lot more brass sticking out that time. That's why it appeared that way. But it's good. We'll go ahead and get it cocked. Pull it back to the half cock position. Go ahead and prime up the flash pan again. Doesn't take a whole lot in there. Get the frizzen closed on it. And I might figure out one day exactly the right formula to get it to pretty much go off as soon as as soon as it strikes. I've seen some where the guys, as soon as that flint hits that frizzen, that bullet is out the end of the barrel there, or pretty quick anyways. There was a pretty good delay in the one I just did. Let's try it again. Same target, same distance, and see if we can get a little closer to the bullseye. Again, double triggers. I'm going to use the set trigger and then the regular trigger. Still a pretty long delay there. I probably should go ahead and buy the proper powder for my flash pan there, but a lot better. Let's go look at that target. Okay, there's my second round. Hey, that is not bad at all. I still have not adjusted the sight. I just kind of adjusted where I was aiming at, but I think I know where it's hitting at. I did not bring a screwdriver out here to adjust my sight. Now that's a little bit different than the traditional ones. It is adjustable. We'll take a look at it. All right, like a lot of traditional sights, this one you can loosen this screw up. You can move it side to side if you need to. You can also turn this little screw in here and raise that up or lower it. It is all the way down right now pretty much. So, I mean, right there is where it's at. I did not bring a little screwdriver to adjust that one, but let's get one more loaded up in here and take a shot at the 100-yard target. All right, this time I am going to run a wet patch through there. And all you got to do, this is, like I said, this is Thompson Center's number 13 bore cleaner. It's all natural, non-petroleum. It's for black powder and Pyrodex fouling. Cleans it up pretty nice. It is non-toxic, but what we're going to do is get this patch wet down a little bit. Not a whole lot. Well, maybe a little bit more than I planned on anyways. Yeah, a little more than I planned. But anyways, when you run a wet patch through there, one thing you definitely got to do is you got to get it cleaned out. You got to get it dried out, because that's your gunpowder's enemy right there. They always say keep your powder dry, and you got to keep it dry. Again, there's a nice dirty patch there. We'll go ahead and run it through backwards one time. Yeah, it's nice and dirty. Let's run a few more of them through there and see how they come out. Like I said, the main thing we want to do now is, since it's wet in there, I got to get it dried out. That way the powder will work. Wouldn't be too much fun if you had wet powder in there and couldn't launch the ball out of there with it. Again, that's a little dirty. You can see the kind of yellowish tint it's got to it too. I guess that's probably the sulfur in it there, and that's what really damages the firearm, is having that in there. That's not too bad. Let's go ahead and get another one in there. I got a couple more here I pulled out of the bag. We'll get them run through there. I'm not, doesn't bother me if it's too clean. All right, I already pulled one out. I might as well run it. Let's see how that comes out. I'd say that's pretty good. Still, you can still see that yellow from the sulfur, I guess, in there, and that's not too bad. Let's get it loaded up and take a shot at the 100-yard target now. Okay guys, I did not hit the 100-yard target. I'll be okay though. It is a fun firearm to get out there and shoot. There's a lot of different clubs and organizations and different events where they use a lot of the old flintlocks and the percussion caps, the antique replica firearms and stuff. Check in your area, see if there's any clubs. Check in your state. I live in Ohio, so this is legal for deer hunting during deer hunting muzzleloader season. You can even dress up in the whole getup if you want, as long as you've got hunter orange on while you're out there doing it. But it's a traditional old firearm. Like I said, this is the one that made America what it is today. This is a high quality military grade weapon. At least it was, a few hundred years ago. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the Traditions flintlock. This is the Pennsylvania rifle. It's a pretty long barrel. You'll see a lot of the Kentucky rifles have a little bit shorter barrel, but this thing is a beast. It's heavy. It's the weight is way out there in the end with that much barrel going out there. But I hope you enjoyed taking a look at it, and if you could, hit the button up here to subscribe to my channel. You can hit this button over here to check out some more of my videos. And thanks for watching Small Caliber Arms Review.